That is America's ass.
Steve Rogers may be officially retired, but the mantle of Captain America will go on. Sam Wilson is now carrying the shield and the weight of responsibility that comes with being the Sentinel of Liberty. With the upcoming Captain America 4, now is a great time to look back at the previous Captain America films and some of the little moments and fun details that make up the adventures of the First Avenger. Steve Rogers has been in 6 mainline MCU films, with cameos in a few others. Heck, there's even his 3 pre-MCU movies, but Marvel would rather you forget those. I didn't forget. I remember it all, Marvel. Even 70s Doctor Strange. I'm Chris Goodmakers with ScreenRant, and here are some fun details about the Captain America films. Let's start with before Steve even donned the Star-Spangled Banner, for a quick reference to a piece of Marvel's past. When Rogers and Barnes are attending the Stark Expo, they take in the sights and displays. A quick pan over the room has a glimpse of a mannequin wearing a bright red outfit. This is actually a reference to the Human Torch. No, not the character played by Evans previously. This Human Torch was actually the first to bear that name. Jim Hammond was actually a living android built by the ridiculously named scientist, Phineas Horton. Steve, Namor, and Jim fought together multiple times during World War II. Rogers and the Submariner would go on to have a long career as icons of the Marvel Comics. Jim Hammond is far less widely known, however. He's doomed to obscurity, forever to be overshadowed by his younger replacement. Eventually, being one to never waste a good name, Stan Lee transferred the moniker to the brashest member of the Fantastic Four.
Now picture that, but everywhere.
It's too bad that we never got the real MCU version of the flame-covered android. It could have added another cool period piece element to the film. I would love to see an android hero built with the bleeding-edge tech of 1942. I bet his flames would even be in color. Let's take a broader look at the many outfits that have been worn throughout the many appearances Cap has made on screen. His star-spangled outfit has had many variations over the years. Some have very direct comic inspirations, even starting with his stage persona. The costume Steve wears for the various USO shows is the most direct copy of the traditional outfit, though it lacks the strange choice of shoulder scales. When he liberates the POWs and Bucky from Red Skull's fortress, he adds a more practical outfit with a leather jacket and goggles. This look is an interpretation of Brian Hitch's World War II look for Steve's Ultimate Marvel incarnation. He even continues taking inspiration from his Ultimate version when he transitions to a helmet-based mask and a liberal use of bandoliers. His Avengers uniform is the closest to Millar and Hitch's Ultimates, with a big red A on his shoulders and a liberal use of seams. It also looks much brighter and vibrant. It looks like it's fresh out the wash. Steve moves on to more muted tones with his espionage work in Captain America: Winter Soldier. His dark blue and silver suit is taken from the Secret Avengers run, and it's a good fit for the themes of the film. Here, Cap isn't acting as a public icon, but as a member of a secret task force. It's still a little flashy, but I guess it's hard not to know you're being attacked by Captain America when a 2.5-foot wide metal frisbee is thrown at your face. We will cycle back to his outfits later in this video, but while we're on the topic of that iconic shield,
that thing does not obey the laws of physics at all.
Captain's shield is the single most iconic part of his whole deal. It's a unique piece of weaponry that carries a nobility about it. While it can be thrown full force at a Hydra agent's neck, its first purpose is to protect. The trash can lid he uses to defend himself is an early hint at his weapon of choice. It's further reinforced when he uses the cab door to stop a few bullets. The door even has his trademark star in the middle, due to a convenient company name. He moves on to a more traditional shield that at first seems to be a glorified stage prop. It is very useful for remembering his lines. Cap quickly puts it to the test, however, with his rescue of Bucky and co. It receives a rather large dent from Red Skull in the process. Rogers ditches it for something far more sturdy, but it looks like the original shield was restored because it's on display in the Smithsonian. Captain America has gone back to this shield style a few times in the comics, most notably when he was running around thinking he was an agent of Hydra. Do you remember when that happened? and how everybody instantly knew it was a terrible decision?
Hail Hydra.
This Smithsonian exhibit may be a setup for Eli Bradley's mask debut later in the franchise. Bradley's alter ego, Patriot, wields a replica of Cap's original weapon. Why does Captain America actually prefer a shield? Well, that's an easy question to answer. He knows to his very core that when he throws his mighty shield, all those who choose to oppose his shield must yield! If he's led to a fight and the duel is due, then the red and the white and the blue will come through when Captain America throws his mighty shield! In Captain America, the Winter Soldier, the brainwashed Bucky Barnes is now the fearsome Frosty Warrior. Having survived his 100-foot fall from a moving train, the Sergeant was taken by Hydra agents and turned into a metal-armed super assassin. This is the same more or less in the mainline comics, with Bucky's return from obscurity brought to you by famed writer Ed Brubaker. Brubaker created the Winter Soldier, and looks like he continues to have a hand in maintaining his chilly operator. Good for him. Marvel rarely lets writers have control over their creations. In fact, that's most of the reason why Image Comics exists. The comic writer has a quick cameo as one of the technicians brainwashing Bucky back to obedience. At least his small role acting got him some kind of paycheck from Marvel. That's more than David Aja got from anything related to the Hawkeye TV series. The third official Captain America film felt at times more like the Avengers 2.5, but it still had lots of time to make Steve miserable for our entertainment. One moment is the funeral of his lost love, Peggy Carter. It's a heartbreaking moment that couldn't come at a worse time. Peggy's niece Sharon gives an inspiring and well-written speech.
Even if the whole world is telling you to move, look them in the eye and say no. You move.
Well written because it was authored by Mark Twain. It's actually an even more specific callback to when Steve quotes the Samuel Clemens speech to Peter Parker. Both men were in the middle of Marvel Comics' own Civil War. It's an inspiring moment worthy of a pretty epic splash page. Back to Captain America's spangly duds. Past Winter Soldier, Rogers is back in the full red, white, and blue with Age of Ultron, and he more or less sticks to variations of this outfit through his next 3 appearances. There are slight changes in Civil War when he loses the white stripes on his arms. It even becomes more worn with the use of the colors becoming dimmer and more faded. It echoes the deterioration of Steve's worldview and optimism. By the time Avengers Infinity War comes around, the outfit looks like it could use a good seamstress. There are holes and tears all over, and the Silver Star has been ripped from his chest. This is an homage to the period in the comics where disillusioned Rogers donned the moniker Nomad and traveled the American Southwest. Sure, MCU Captain America had to deal with the Sokovia Accords and Hydra infiltration, but at least he didn't have to deal with that Nixon.
And I'll go into people's houses at night and wreck up the place.
We'll finish up with the suits later, but for now, how about an iconic fedora? The director of Captain America, the First Avenger, is Joe Johnston. He was behind the camera for such classics as The Rocketeer and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. However, he wasn't always a director. Yeah, that's kind of a dumb segue. I mean, he used to be a literal baby. He probably wasn't directing then. What I mean to say is that Johnston initially got his start in art direction and special effects. What kind of movies did he work on? Oh, just little independent movies called Star Wars and Raiders of the Lost Ark. It was Johnston's work with the legendary Steven Spielberg that got him into directing. The Jurassic Park director even handed the reins of that franchise to Johnston for the 3rd outing. Thankfully, Captain America turned out better than Jurassic Park 3, though I think we all owe that movie a big apology after Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom.
They're alive. Like me.
Johnston pays homage to his mentor and early career several times during the First Avenger. The most notable is when Red Skull refers to Hitler digging for trinkets in the desert. This implies that he is looking for the Lost Ark and that Indy exists in the Marvel Universe. That probably explains how he survived that fridge. Indy is actually inhuman, and all that atmospheric fog was actually the Terrigen Mist. I can't wait for that Short Round and Winter Soldier team-up series. When Rogers is reborn from the Vita Chamber and emerges all glistening and ripped, he elicits shock and surprise from the room of scientists and notables. Fans probably noticed that Captain Peggy Carter is also taken by surprise. The skinny but brave kid she first knew was now a living Adonis. She takes an almost impulsive second to touch Steve's chest and then pulls her hand back quickly in embarrassment. While most take this as a quick acting choice from Haley Atwell, it's not actually the case. In actuality, when I saw Steve's amazing, smooth, and stunning new body, my own desire to touch that perfectly sculpted beefcake was so strong that I unknowingly influenced the actress in that moment. Yes, she had already filmed the scene by the time I watched the movie, but it's clearly the only explanation for Peggy doing exactly what I would have done. Steve, you can get it. Rogers gets a fresh outfit in Endgame, just in time for his retirement. Also, just in the nick of time, Captain America superfans get the one thing their hearts truly craved these long years: battle scales. Rogers' final outfit as the Sentinel of Liberty, so far, incorporates a long-neglected aspect of his comic counterpart's uniform. The chainmail-like shoulder and upper chest scales that have long been a part of his comic outfit are represented on this one by the repeating patterns on the chest and pauldrons. It's still sad we never got actual wings on Cap's head, but even the MCU can't make everything from the comics look cool. Case in point, Sam Wilson is now Captain America, and he has his own version of the red, white, and blue outfit. It's an attempt to mix the Falcon's traditional MCU look with the more notable elements of Captain America. It's an almost one-to-one copy of his comic look, but what works in print doesn't always work in film. If I had to narrow it down to one element, it's the open ears. Virtually every hero who wears a full mask or helmet has their ears covered. Don't tell me it's so he can hear better. This is the MCU and there's magic technology for everything. Hopefully there are some alterations before Sam makes his theatrical debut as Captain America. Still, it's not the worst outfit the Captain has been seen in. That honor goes to Reb Brown's glorious performance as a van-living, art-loving Steve Rogers. Actually, speaking of Reb Brown and his terrible motorcycle helmet, this terrible version of the Star-Spangled Sentinel is something that Marvel wishes would stay buried, at least judging from how hard it was for me to find this footage. I know it's not the highest quality video, but you should still soak in every glorious second of this mess.
The old people around here are my friends, and if I ever hear they have problems again, I'm coming after you.
One thing the modern incarnation of Captain America has retained from this pair of low-budget TV movies is his love of kicking ass on a motorcycle. In the First Avenger, Steve rides a 1942 Harley-Davidson WLA Liberator. His love of American-built Harleys continues through the MCU with several models, almost all of which he weaponizes against his enemies as a makeshift projectile. Reb Brown rode a Yamaha, which is another odd choice. You think that a World War II veteran would have a bias against Japanese-built machinery? But this version of Steve never fought in the war. Why would you ever want to include a crucial aspect of the character when you can make room for more lame motorcycle stunts? MCU Rogers even sticks his shield to the front of his bike like Reb Brown, a detail too specific not to be intentional. Thank God they didn't make Chris Evans wear that helmet though.
I could do this all day.
It's kind of a motif for Rogers, and it's about as close to a catchphrase that any of the Avengers get, next to almost anything that comes out of Savage Hulk's mouth that isn't ARG. He repeats it multiple times through the franchise like it's his own personal "I'll be back." However, it represents something much deeper in Rogers. He says it specifically when he is growing exceptionally fatigued in battle. He pushes through the wall of exhaustion and often gains a second wind when the fight continues. More so, he often expects this of others in battle, and his leading by example often helps others push through too. You can see these various falter and rally moments through the various climactic battles in the series. Captain America is a symbol more than he is a single man, but Steve Rogers is the model on which all other incarnations are based. Chris Evans is now that model for others who will follow in his footsteps acting-wise. These heroes will have to live up to the ideals Rogers practiced. I'm looking forward to how this new breed of patriotic heroes will be different. They all grew up in very different times from Rogers and have to face problems with a more modern outlook. It's good to know that the mantle will continue, and I'm glad Sam Wilson is representing the red, white, and blue. They have nothing on Peggy Carter's Captain Britain, though.